Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show, Travel Edition. On the road once again to do some work out of Las Vegas. But the NBA playoffs are here, kind of. Keith Smith, does the play-in tournament count as playoffs or no?
No, I don't think so. I have conditioned my brain to think of this as the postseason, and
Mhm.
then there's the playoffs. So there, the dog is making an appearance in the background there. He's full of energy today. That's Tatum. In case anybody was wondering where the pup is at in life, he's fired up for the postseason. But
Right
yeah,
on.
no, I think the play-in is the postseason, and then the playoffs are the real deal. So in the NBA, I think it agrees because they don't count these stats as postseason or anything like that. So
Okay. Well, that makes sense then. The play-in
yeah,
tournament does begin tonight as
tonight,
as we're
yeah,
recording this, which is exciting. I
yep,
mean, it gives you that kind of it's not March Madness, but it gives you that sort of
no,
importance
yeah,
on a single game, which frankly, I mean, this discussion's been going on for a long time, but the NBA maybe has too many games in the season, minimizes the importance of each individual game. It's kind of cool seeing the play-in games where everything's on the line in that one game. Well, at least for the teams that are in
yep.
the 9-10 matchup.
Yeah, I think always too, these are fun times because now you dial in and focus on one game at a time, right? There's a lot of times in the playoffs, there's just one game happening. There's not, seven, eight games being played at once. It takes a little bit to get used to that, not flipping around League Pass. And everybody who follows me on Twitter knows I fell in love with the Game Mix channel on Direct TV that would show anywhere from 4 to 8 games at once. But yeah, locking in on one game now. It's Nets Cavs tonight, and then the Clippers and Timberwolves after. One game at a time. I'm super excited for this, and you're. I think the bigger thing that you said, which makes even more sense, is now the games have a lot of meaning,
Yeah.
right? These games are now like really meaningful. These ones semi, right? You lose, you still get that second chance, but you're there. So, but what we're gonna do today, if you want to hear our thoughts on the play-in tournament as a whole, we covered that in our last episode. You can go back. I don't think anything has changed enough to make either one of us change our thoughts on the play-in tournament. It's not like any major star is out or anything. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go and we're going to cover a little bit of news related to playoffs and a couple other things, and then we're going to get into our playoff series outlooks and get into what those look like, including a couple predictions. We picked one series from each conference today to break
Hmm.
down. And so let's get into it. Let's do a little bit of news first. Want to do the one non-playoff related, couldn't be further from the playoff related news story.
Yeah, let's jump to Houston and let's talk about the Houston Rockets before we focus entirely on the playoffs. They believe they have a trade market for John Wall. Now they believe that, and that's what they're going to put out there publicly, because of course they
Sure.
do. That's what. Even if there was no trade market for John Wall, and they were getting, it was just crickets. They were, longingly staring at the phone, hoping it would ring. It wouldn't matter. They would still say, "Oh yeah, there's definitely a trade market. So if anybody wants him,
Of course.
you better hurry because we're getting so many calls." Again, maybe there are some teams that are interested in shedding some salary and using that $47 million expiring contract. Certainly, a discussion we've been having over on Lakers Nation with Russell Westbrook's nearly identical contract. But in any event, that's what Houston's putting out, that there's interest in John Wall's deal, interest in trading for John Wall.
Yep.
Will a deal actually get done? We'll see. We haven't seen him play basketball in a year, so
That's the challenge, right? We have no idea where he's at basketball wise. Now, when he did play before, was he was not John Wall, but he was also not
right.
awful. So hopefully, my hope is for John Wall's sake, he can get back to being a productive player. My guess is he's going to have to take a deal whatever happens here, because I don't think a contender's trading for him at $47 million. I think this probably ultimately ends up in some kind of salary dump
Hmm.
maneuvers, swap of salaries, whatever it may be, then followed by a buyout. But I hope then he catches on with a contender and can be somebody that they kind of need to fill whether it's a starter or a high level backup point guard role. I think he could make a Derrick Rose like transition
He
in
could.
his career where you move into that high level 6 man role where you're playing a lot and you're doing a lot of things. And I think that's probably where this is ultimately headed. Yes, Houston is absolutely right. Trading 47 million is a heck of a lot easier than trading 91 million.
Hmm.
Wall has already made it very clear he will pick up that option. I know Russell Westbrook kind of was like, that's why they call it a player
Oh,
option. He's not wrong, but
that
come on,
that
he's
whole
picking it
interview
up too.
was, good
Yeah,
Lord.
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't
we're
need
not
to
going to go into that.
get
That's a
into
whole
that.
different rabbit hole to
Unfortunately,
go down.
nope. And I'm sure you can find that content on our sister shows
That's
over
right.
at Lakers
That's
Nation.
right.
Um, but I think with Wall, yes, now it becomes easier because it's an expiring deal. There will be teams that are looking to move some stuff around, maybe set up for a big summer 2023 or something like that. But it's one of those things where I hope let's get this resolved. Let's get him free of this or to somewhere where he can actually play and maybe make an impact and try to get his career re-jump started. Challenge is going to be at the start of next season, he'll be 32. So you're starting to get, a little bit there. But like I said, maybe a Derrick Rose
Yeah.
type career transition comes for John Wall, and maybe he can pull that off and become, a really important part of good teams again. I know I personally that's what I'm rooting for and hoping to
I
see.
think that's a good call. Let's jump over to, I mean, probably there's three decent sized injury stories. I don't know which one of these is bigger, but
Yeah.
let's start with Steph Curry, and then we'll get to Luka. Steph Curry reportedly making progress, but it's going to be a close call. And Keith, you and I were just talking before we came on the air here. Steve Kerr says he will only play him if he gets in a scrimmage first. So the clock is ticking. Warriors playing on Saturday. I mean, this is a big deal, right? I mean, Steph Curry, one of the best players in
Yeah.
the NBA. You don't have him. I still believe he's going to play, but it doesn't. If you're a Warriors fan, it can't feel great having this kind of uncertainty hanging out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, nobody wants to be, and we're going to talk about this, like you said, with Luca too. Nobody wants to be starting game one of the playoff series without knowing if your best player is going to
Hmm.
be available. That's a challenge. My hope is that they said he's doing, individual work. He's running, he's shooting, he's doing all those things. We have seen Steph in the past basically come back and hit the ground
Yeah.
running when he's missed time. He comes right back as kind of the guy he always is. So my hope is, yeah, get that scrimmage in the next couple of days, and then he's ready to go game one. That's my hope. That is one of the two series we're gonna break down here in a couple minutes as Warriors Nuggets. We'll have a lot more on it then.
Luka Doncic still dealing with that strained calf. Again, nothing
Confirmed now by
confirmed,
the Mavericks to be a strained
but
calf.
they don't have to
Yep,
reveal much more than that in terms of is he playing, is he not,
exactly.
and they're not going to, because why would they? That's a
Nope.
competitive disadvantage if they
Yep.
if they reveal whether or not he's playing. Now they've got, I mean, that's the silver lining here is the Mavs can try to keep everything close to the vest. Look at what the Clippers have done in the past with Kawhi Leonard and just not say whether or not he's
Hmm.
playing, so it makes it harder to game plan for
Yep.
them. But speaking from an NBA perspective, we're all hoping Luka obviously can play. He is absolutely
Hmm.
phenomenal, and would hate to see him have to suffer an injury on the last night and then miss the playoffs, and that be the undoing of the Mavs season potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So hopefully, he's out there again, and you're spot on with that. The Mavs are gonna, I guarantee, when we get that injury report Friday night, he's gonna be
Yep.
questionable. That's just gonna be how it is. Maybe if they're being super honest, he'll be doubtful. But yeah, I think he'll be marked as questionable, and then we'll see where it goes from there. I wouldn't be surprised if it, or I would rather be surprised if it's anything but that. And then one more guy, Ben
No
Simmons.
siren needed.
We're Yeah, exactly. We're still kind of hearing it. Maybe Shams Charania doubling down on some reporting from earlier in the week or I guess it was at the end of last week, that Simmons feels really confident he'll be able to play in round one. Now, Shams said it's probably not games one or two. It's funny. He said in Boston, which means he's going with the predetermined outcome that they're going to beat the Cavs tonight, and they're playing, which, I mean, they are the favorites and they
Hmm.
should win that game even without Simmons. But there is a thought process there of that's probably too early as games one and two, but maybe, game three or four. I just continue to believe this is a guy who is very tough to fit in. I know people keep countering that and people keep getting very angry about that. But I think the thing is, you have to look at it as Philly spent basically 5 years figuring out how to make an offense featuring Ben Simmons as a big part of it. And for all the people who keep saying, just put him down in the dunker spot by the rim and have him hang out there, then where does Andre
Right.
Drummond go? And Andre Drummond's been a huge part of this team. It's just going to be tough. That said, next season, with a time to incorporate it, time to figure it out, time to get these guys together, I think that could be devastating. I just don't know that you can pull that off on the fly. But hey, one more guy with a little bit of size in their rotation, considering that's basically Kevin Durant and then a whole bunch of guards as their next best players. It's not certainly not going to hurt anything, but I don't know. I'm not kind of putting this in a spot at all where I think, well, this swings a series or anything like that.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, look, Ben Simmons is a talented player, but the chemistry, the fit, all of that is going to matter. Trying to just throw him into a playoff series isn't going to be easy, and it is kind of funny that Sean said, "Oh yeah, when they get to the first round, they're just assuming that they beat the Cavs." But to toss him in, especially saying, "Well, he's probably not going to play game one or game two, but maybe after that, like mid-series, you're just going to toss him into the mix." That's going to be tough at best. And who knows? Maybe it's the kind of thing where, let's say, and again, just not not taking a shot at your Celtics or anything here, Keith. This is just
Oh
a
yeah.
hypothetical. But let's say you're the Nets and you get into a series with the Celtics and you're up 2-0. Let's say that happens. And the Nets go up 2-0. Do you really have any pressure to put Ben Simmons
No.
in? Then you probably
Nope.
say, well, let's not mess with this, right? Let's not. Now, if you're
Yep.
down 2-0 or if it's 1-1 or something and you
Mm-hmm.
feel like you need to change something, you need to change the way the games are being played out, then maybe you've got incentive to go and put Ben Simmons in. So I think beyond just being healthy or not, I think the status of the series, if he does indeed be deemed healthy to play during a potential first round, so whether it's Boston or whoever, I think what the way the series is going should absolutely matter to the Brooklyn Nets when they're deciding whether or not to actually put him on the floor.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they think this becomes, we always see it, right? Somebody at some point, and I don't care whether it's, I mean, I guess I can't bring the NHL in because I don't know anything about hockey, except sometimes I know they change up the goalie if things are going sideways. But in basketball or baseball, you either insert somebody into the lineup or you change the
Hmm.
lineup or whatever. We see it all the time in a 7 game series. If things aren't going well early, you make an adjustment, you make that change, and maybe that's what the Nets are kind of looking at. And I think I don't know. I just think it's being everyone is being really kind of coy about this of like, hey, we just need to be kind of let's be careful here. We don't need to rush. It's let's let this thing kind of go the way it's supposed to go. Because if you think about it too, from the net standpoint, this is a long term thing for them. They did not trade for Ben Simmons to try to win the title this year. They traded these guys. They traded rather for Simmons. Well, I guess these guys because Curry and Drummond too, to hopefully have them for the next few years at least to come and go forward. So yeah, so that's where that's at.
All right. Want to jump to a playoff series? Let's get into it. Let's dive
Yeah.
into a play. Let's start. Let's start
Yep.
out east. Let's go with the Raptors and the 76ers. I'm excited for
Love it.
this one. I mean, on paper, you look at it and you say, superstar math of the NBA, James Harden, Joel Embiid, the 76ers should roll.
Yep.
Now, this Raptors team is feisty. They're long. Scotty Barnes is a potential Rookie of the Year candidate. You've got Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet. This Raptors team could be pretty darn good. I'm not counting them out in this series at all.
No, neither am I. I think they have a real shot. They actually went 3-1
Hmm.
against Philly in the season series. Played quite well in those games there. So I think that they've got a real chance here. I think when we look at this Toronto team, I think there's been maybe some level of Raptors fatigue. I think they dropped
Hmm.
out last year, but I think there's been some thought of like, yeah, we know who these guys are and all this and that. But I think what gets missed within this team is Pascal Siakam took a leap
Yeah.
this year. 22.8 points, 8.5 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 1.3 steals per game. Shot 49% from the field. 3-point percentage was down a little bit, 34.4, but he also eliminated some of the shots from out there. So, I mean, he really became kind of the modern era power forward, and he kind of became their version of what good Julius Randle was
Hmm.
for the Knicks, but a much better defensive version of that. And then, yeah, you mentioned Scotty Barnes, the rookie came in, outstanding rookie season. Probably rookie of the year. We'll see him or
Yeah.
Evan Mobley, I think. Fred VanVleet, just do what Fred VanVleet does, play great defense, score the ball, make plays. Gary Trent Jr. had a career season, 18 points per game for him. OG Anunoby just keeps going up, up, up. And then their bench, well, you're not going to look at it and be like, oh, man, there's this guy and this guy and this guy. They're just all kind of good. Precious Achua, Thad Young, Kem Birch. Probably the biggest spot where they're weak is with their backup ball handlers. But they play a lot of no traditional point guard lineups. So put it in Barnes or Siakam's hands and say, hey, you run the show. So the Raptors they're, I think, probably better than the average person thinks if they haven't watched them very much this year.
Correct. And especially if you're, and there's nothing, people use this as a derogatory term, but casual fans, if you're more the type that is more of a casual fan and you're just, jumping into certain games and you're just looking for the stars and things like that. And look, that's a big part of the NBA too, and the NBA's fan base. But if that's you and you haven't spent a lot of time watching the Raptors, look, this team is really good. They really have a shot here.
Yep.
The 76ers, in terms of the betting line right now, the 76ers are 4.5-point favorite as of this moment, which is a pretty solid favorite, fairly strong favorite for the 76ers. But again, when I look at this, I think it's going to be tough to beat James Harden and Joel Embiid 4 times out of 7. I think it's going to be difficult to deal with those guys. I think how the game is officiated will matter. We've seen James Harden have struggles in the past when playoff officiating kicks in compared to regular season. Now, the NBA did cut down on some of the shenanigans and stuff this year, and that's been fantastic. We'll see what that translates to come playoff time, because Embiid and Harden are 2 of the higher free throw attempt guys in the NBA. They're guys who can manufacture points just by, finding ways to get to the free throw. I'm trying to find a nice way to say this.
Sure. Yeah,
but,
no, I get you.
But they find ways to get to the free throw line. So I think that will matter in this series. But again, this is a Raptors team that is very tough. And I think that they can really be good. The other thing to keep an eye on from the Raptors side, Precious Achua. He's been shooting well from behind the arc. That could be a difference maker in terms of their offensive production as well.
It was funny. I was talking to someone in the league, and we were talking about the various playoff series, and we got to this one, and it was a lot of like, how are they going to defend Joel Embiid? Like, who's going to defend Joel Embiid? Do they go with a Kem Birch or something like that and bench a guy? And I said, I don't think they will. I tend to think they're going to look at it as, how does Embiid defend Siakam, or who do you put him on even with that? Do you put him on like an OG Anunoby or a Scotty Barnes and say, all right, just kind of float around the rim, and if those guys want to shoot threes, we're going to let them shoot threes. Now, Joel Embiid has done a good job on Pascal Siakam at points, but you're talking the last 5 minutes of games. You're not talking 40 minutes per game. Joel Embiid, without a doubt, the best player in this series. It's not even particularly close. But the Raptors may have the next 2 or 3 best players in this series. And I know that sounds crazy when James Harden's on the other side. He's just been bad with Philly. He's shooting 40% from the field, 33% from 3. He is getting the line 8.9 times per game, 89% there, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, 1.2 steals. So it's not like he's been horrible, but those shooting numbers are tough. And if there's a team that's set to defend him, because the best way to defend him is you switch, you put more size on him. They've got all kinds of long, bouncy, big wingspan guys that they can throw at him throughout any matchup. So that's going to be tough. They're going to need Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris to be really good to win this series. Like, they cannot have those games where the 2 of them combine to take 10 total shots and score 12 total points. Like, you can't have that. One of the 2 of them has to be there every single night, and ideally the other 2, because that's how they need to match Toronto's depth of talent by their own guys stepping up a little bit. And then let's just, because we don't want to skip it, Matisse Thybulle is not going to be available for at least 3 games in this series. Well,
depending on how far it
2,
goes, but definitely 2
that way. And I don't think it's a massive, massive loss, because I think Danny Green can step in and capably fill his shoes there. I've said it before, Toronto doesn't necessarily have that major wing scorer that you would say put Thybulle on him, let him do what he does best. But what it does is it removes a guy. Then that means Shake Milton, maybe Furkan Korkmaz. They need to play more minutes and step up. That's what's going to be tough. I guess my single biggest thing, and this is this series and beyond for Philly, is They are a train wreck when Joel Embiid
Yep.
sits. And it's been that way for a while. And it looked like that was going to be okay when they had Andre Drummond there filling in behind him. Then that trade happened. Out went Drummond, out went Curry. We all focus on they missed Curry, they lost all that shooting. Missing Drummond is huge for them because when Embiid sits, they're just a mess. So can he go 40, 45 minutes and you can and not be a disaster in the anywhere from 5 to 10
Might
minutes
have to.
per game he's off the floor? You have to be able to. And is he going to be able to do that for 2, 3, 4 rounds if necessary for Philadelphia? That's what I worry about with Joel Embiid.
That is absolutely going to be something to watch. Again, right now, the 76ers, a decently strong favorite here. But again, I am not counting the Raptors out of this thing. I think they could really make a push here. Let's jump over to the other series.
Well, hold on
What's
now.
that?
We're going to do our
Oh,
picks.
you want to make a prediction?
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to make a prediction. Come on, man.
All right.
People come here for that.
That's true.
If for no other reason so they can yell at us
That's
later.
true. Yes.
You want to go first or you want me to go first?
I'll go. And I'm gonna vote with my gut and not what my head is telling me here, because my head tells me superstar math wins and the 76ers take this thing. I'm gonna say Raptors in 6.
Oh, all right.
I'm going
then.
spicy.
I'm going 76ers in 7. I think we get a 7-game series out of this one, and I do think the Sixers. I just think Harden and Embiid are too good in the end, and I think the Raptors maybe a year early. I think they're really good, but I think this might be 1 year earlier than they expected to be at this level. So all right. So we're both thinking a good long
I think
series.
you're probably correct, and that is most likely what's going to happen. I'm just thinking with what would be the most fun would be the Raptors going after the 76ers and being able to exploit them in certain ways and things like that. But
now,
again,
Toronto
go ahead.
Always loses game ones.
That's true.
Does that only count when they're at home? Like, is that only when they're at home thing? I don't know how that works. So, Raptors fans weigh in. Let us know. Is that only when Toronto's at home that they lose game ones, or is that always the thing? Because otherwise, bet Philly heavy
in game
one to because Toronto's history has not been great in game ones. But yeah, all right. Let's go. Let's flip it. Let's go all the way to the other side of the country. Golden State.
All right. So going into this, the Warriors are a 5-point favorite in terms of. I'm talking game 1. In terms of winning that game, I should have mentioned that on the Raptors that won. The 76ers were a 4.5-point favorite for game 1. The Warriors are a 5-point favorite here for game 1. I mean, to me, this all hinges on Steph Curry, and if he's not healthy, then I think the Nuggets are going to win this. If Steph Curry is healthy, I think Golden State walks away. I mean, I know we're going to get further in depth into our analysis and everything, but is it really just that simple? Whether or not Steph Curry plays determines the winner?
I think there's a real chance. I think it is if we had fully healthy Steph for game 1 and could believe that was going to be the way it was going to go the rest of the way, I would pick Warriors in maybe even probably Warriors in 6. I don't want to disrespect the Nuggets too much. If we're not going to have Steph, then I don't really know. I might lean towards the Nuggets. I think it's gonna be tough. I think we can be very, very certain at this point. We're not going to see Jamal Murray or Michael Porter. Neither has been officially fully ruled out yet, but and we're not even hearing anything about maybe they might play now. So it really comes down to is Steph in or out. Otherwise, these two teams we kind of know what they are.
I just think if there's no Steph Curry, you don't have that ballast to even things out against what Jokic is probably going to do against the Warriors. He's going to be fantastic. They're going to try to give him different looks and everything, but Jokic is incredible. I think he's the MVP again. So he's going to be so difficult to handle that if you don't have those Steph Curry 30 points and 40 points or whatever, that when he just blows up and he's shooting 35-footers and you can't stop him, you're going to need a couple of those performances to kind of even out what's going to be a strong series from Jokic. Again, Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. being back, that would prevent me from saying, they're going to win regardless. But I feel like if the Warriors are down Curry, then this probably swings to Denver.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Yeah, if Curry can't play or if he can't go into like game 3 or 4 or something, yeah, that makes it much harder on the Warriors to pull this off. So I think that's gonna be how I'm looking at it. I think if Curry can play game 1 and he is Stephen Curry,
Hmm.
I'm gonna do my prediction maybe a minute or
That's
so
okay.
earlier than we were going to,
Let's do it.
but I would go Curry. Curry can play from game 1 and he's Steph. I would go Warriors in 6. If he can't play, I'm gonna go. If he can't play at all, I'm gonna go Nuggets in 6. If he returns mid-series, Warriors in 7. I know I'm really kind of waffling there and giving different options on that, but it's I mean this guy's one of the best players in the world, so
Yeah.
I don't feel bad about that. I'm not like giving like here's 25 silly qualifiers. I feel like those are very valid qualifiers to give.
It's not like is Gary Payton the second going to play or not play? You know what I mean? Which
Yeah,
and I love him, but
yeah,
that's not what we're
sure.
weighing here. You're weighing one of the top players in the NBA, the greatest shooter in NBA history. Like that's the entire series. I think hinges upon Steph Curry, and
Yep.
I'm in total agreement. That was what I was going to pick beforehand as well. Was Warriors in 6 if Curry's healthy, Nuggets in 6 if he's not, and that's the way I see this breaking down. I think it's going to be a fun
Maybe it is
series. It's
that
going to
easy.
be
Yeah.
interesting. I'm curious to see Draymond on Jokic and kind of what that
Yes.
winds up looking like.
100%.
Um,
Playoff Draymond is like a completely
yeah,
different player, an
exactly.
animal, and there's probably no better player in the league to defend Jokic than playoff Draymond.
Correct.
Like that guy is just like he will like lock onto him and make life as difficult as he can on Jokic. And this is probably to a major extent going to come down to what do the other guys do,
Hmm.
right? Because you if you're Jokic, you need Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, somebody off the bench of their collection of bench guys needs to step up. And their main thing is they got to make shots because the Warriors are going to make Jokic give the ball up.
Right.
He's also very willing to give the ball up. So that's going to happen. And then on the Warriors side, I think I just trust in general their other guys more. I mean, Andrew Wiggins, we can, relitigate the whole all-star thing
Right.
another time. But he's had a pretty good year,
Sure.
47% from the field, 39% from 3, 17 points per game. I think he slots in very nicely as fourth, fifth guy now with Klay Thompson back. Jordan Poole, after all the love we showered on him earlier this year, came through for us with a
Hmm.
fantastic season.
Yep.
And Klay Thompson, I know there's been this whole like, Klay looks a little rough. Still dropped 20 points per game in the 32 games he played, that's a good amount of
Just
games now.
the bar is just so high for
On
him because we've
yeah,
seen such incredible
38%
play.
from 3. Yeah, exactly. I think he's really starting to round back into being Klay again.
Hmm.
And then, like I said, I mean, playoff Draymond's going to be Draymond. Come on, Looney, I think one of only 5 players to play all 82 games this season, which that's kind of remarkable when you consider where his career
Uh-huh.
was headed with the hip stuff. He's certainly quality. They're going to need somebody to step up off the bench. Would it be like Jonathan Kuminga? Also, let's see if Iguodala does have a another playoff run in him to go. But yeah, I like the Warriors other guys better than I like the
Hmm.
Nuggets other guys, assuming everybody's
Yeah.
healthy. And then I'll go with the Warriors. I don't always like picking a team to win a road game in game 6,
Right.
because I think it is tough. But it's the Warriors. Like they're not going to be phased by that. They've been there, done
Hmm.
that. Like they've done this, for so long. So that's that. So those are my 3 versions of picks for this
No,
series.
I think that's fair given what's going on with Steph Curry and everything else that we're trying to weigh there. But
Yep.
in any event, I think it's going to be a really interesting series. It's going to be one that I'm going to certain. I mean, we're going to keep a close eye on all of these, but man,
Sure.
let's go playoff time, play-in games
Yeah.
tonight. I'm
Well,
excited.
that one's going to drag us. To drag at least me here on the East Coast. I will not have a problem staying
That's right.
up until 12:30 midnight or 1 in the morning, whatever it is, watching that game. That can be a slog in the
Hmm.
regular season, forcing myself to stay up late some nights. In the playoffs, it will not be an issue. Especially you never want to miss Steph
Correct.
because nothing sucks worse than waking up the next day
And he
because you
went
went
for
to bed
50 or
early
something.
and you hear like you see the bunch of like a bunch of notifications from like Stein
Yeah,
and Woj and Sean, like Steph Curry scored 60
right.
points tonight in the Warriors playoff, and it's like, and I went to bed because I was a little bit tired. Like that's that's just brutal. But yeah, I will say too, for anybody wondering, we'll get to the other
Mhm.
series. We know two other series. We'll know two more a little bit later tonight after these play-ins. So we will get to those in the next couple of days, and we'll keep plugging along as we cover news and all that stuff and all that. And awards are coming down the line. We're
Mhm.
probably going to do that on the break day during the play-in tournament. We both got our awards sheets filled out and everything to go. So lots of stuff, but Trevor's got better stuff to do. He's gonna go. He's a front office studio at the table.
That's
So
right. That's right. I got to go work on that. So we'll go ahead and wrap things up there so I can get to work on it. But appreciate all of you for joining us. Make sure you do subscribe to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel as well as over on the podcast side too, over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever it is that you
love the
listen to
reviews,
podcasts.
guys. Thank you so
Yes,
much. Keep them coming. They're huge. They're very, very helpful for us.
absolutely, absolutely. Truly appreciate those. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.